Chapter 9. The burden, let me reset this timer just in case. The burden of the word of El in the land of Hadrach and Damascus shall be the rest thereof. When the eyes of man, as all the tribes of Israel, shall be towards El, and Hamath also shall borrow thereby. Tyrese and Zidon, though it be very wise, and these are, I know Tyrese is a Hamitic nation. Zidon, I think Zidon is also a Hamite nation. And Tyrese did build herself a stronghold and heap up. Now, Yah, in the book of Joel, Yah is very upset with Tyrese. That's one of the nations that the Most High will be very harsh with in the millennial reign. Verse 3, and Tyrese did build herself a stronghold and heap up silver as the dust, and fine gold as the mirror of the streets. Behold, El will cast her out, and he will smite her power in the sea, and shall be devoured with fire. So again, like I was saying, Tyrese is not very favored to El, and as we're reading right here, again, that's why it's so important to recognize that just because you come to Yah through Yahushua Mashiach, you don't lose your nationality. But it's because some nations, the Most High has indignation to, and when He returns, He's going to have indignation with certain nations, and He's going to be harsh with those particular nations. Ashkelon shall see it and fear. Gaza also shall see it and be very sorrowful, and Ekron for her expectations shall be ashamed, and the king shall perish from Gaza, and Ashkelon shall not be inhabited. This is why it's so important to understand technicalities about how the Most High works and how this whole planet Earth and nations and everything works, because certain nations are not so favorable with the Most High through Christ. And just like a lot of people have an unfortunate understanding that when Christ comes, he just gonna kill all wickedness and all the nations are gonna come together and it's gonna be one big happy family. That's not what the Bible says, because you still have your nationality. And Zechariah chapter 9 is showing that clearly, and certain nations are going to have invoked the wrath of Yah, and shall not be inhabited. So these particular lands, Gaza and Ashkelon, shall not be inhabited places. So I don't know if Yah is going to destroy these two people completely, or He is just going to make them vagabonds. I'm not sure. And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. Now, that prophecy right here is the Ashdods. That's what's going on in Jerusalem right now. The Hebrew Israelites' brother, Edom, the Edomites are there right now, and they are inhabiting that land. And the Philistines, the Palestinians, they're both in that particular land right there as we speak right now. And I will cut off the pride of the Philistines, because the Philistines are over there right now, and they're saying, no, this is my land, and they're actually fighting the Edomites for the land of Jerusalem, and the Edomites are saying, no, this is our land. So you have two particular parties fighting for something that doesn't belong to them right now, and the Most High is saying, a bastard shall dwell there. And right now you have two people occupying that land right there, right now, who don't belong there, but they're fighting for it. And I will take away his blood out of his mouth, and his abominations from between his teeth. But he that remaineth, even he shall be for Yah, and he shall be as a governor in Judah, and Ekron as a Jebusite. And I will encamp though about mine house because of the army, because of him that passeth by, and because of him that returneth. And no oppressor shall pass through them any more, for now have I seen with mine eyes. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy king cometh unto thee. He is just, and having salvation, lowly, and riding upon an ass, and upon a colt, the fall of an ass. Man, just everything from Zechariah 1 even unto Zechariah 9 right here is just all about future prophecy after prophecy after prophecy. Verse 10, and we understand verse 9 has already taken place at this particular time, because Yahushua Mashiach has already came and fulfilled that portion of it. Verse 10, and I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim, and the horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow shall be cut off, and he shall speak peace unto the heathen, and his dominion shall be from sea to sea. And it goes see right here, because why? He's saying he's not hating the heathen. Now there are some Gentile nations that are invoked his wrath, but it's not all of them. It's the Gentiles that seek him is going to be able to give their sacrifices. It says he's going to accept their sacrifices at the temple in Jerusalem, and it should be open. It should be open and not closed at all, and they will be able to give off their sacrifices in that day, and that's in the millennial reign. As for thee, from sea even to sea, and from the river even to the ends of the earth. As for thee also, by the blood of thy covenant, I have set forth thy prisoners out of the pit wherein is no water. Now this is talking about when Yahushua Mashiach descended into Shaul, hell, for a particular amount of time, and he did what? He set the captives free. Now we're talking about a spiritual captivity, because even if you were a good and decent person, a Torah following person, because of the matter that Adam and Eve did, they damned everyone, good or bad, down there. But there's two parts of hell, Shaul, in that particular place, where you have the wicked, where the wicked go for torment on one side of the gulf, and on the other side of the gulf you have where people like Abraham bosom they call it, it's called, and you have the righteous people there. They're not being tormented, but they're stuck there because until the Savior, the branch, came to repair that and set the captives free, you still had to go down there. Verse 12, turn you to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. When I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, and made thee as the sword of a mighty man. And El shall be seen over them, and his arrow shall go forth as the lightning, and El shall blow the trumpet, and shall go with whirlwind of the south. El of hosts shall defend them, and they shall devour and subdue with slings, stones, and they shall drink and make a noise, as through wine, and they shall be filled like bowls, and as the corner of the altar, and El their Yah shall save them in that day as the flock of his people. For they shall be as the stone of a crown, lifted up as a ensign upon his land. For how great is his goodness, and how great is his beauty. Corner shall make the young man cheerful, and new wine the maids. Ask ye of El rain in the time of the latter rain, so El shall make bright clouds, and give them showers of rain to every grass in the field, for the idols have spoken vanity, and the diviners have seen a lie, and have told false dreams. They comfort in vain, therefore they went their way as a flock. They were troubled because there was no shepherd. Mine anger was kindled against the shepherds, and I punished the goats. For El of hosts hath visited his flock, the house of Judah, and hath made them as his goodly horse in the battle. Out of him came forth the corner, out of him the nail, out of him the battle bow, out of him every oppressor together. And they shall be as mighty men, which tread down their enemies in the mirror of the streets, in the battle, and they shall fight because El is with them. And again, in the millennial reign, a lot of the subduing will be by hand of the Hebrew Israelites, by the might of Yah. He will send them out to go do certain things. And the riders on the horse shall be confounded, and I will strengthen the house of Judah, and I will save the house of Joseph, and I will bring them again to the place them, for I have mercy upon them, and they shall be as though I had not cast them off. For I am El, their Yah, and will hear them, and they of Ephraim shall be like a mighty man, and their heart shall rejoice as through wine. Yea, their children shall see it and be glad. Their heart shall rejoice in the land. I will hiss for them and gather them, for I have redeemed them, and they shall increase as they have increased. And I will show them among the people, and they shall remember me in far countries, and they shall live with their children and turn again. I will bring them again also out of the land of Egypt, and gather them out of Assyria, and I will bring them into the land of Gilead and Lebanon, and place shall not be found for them. And he shall pass through the sea with affliction, and shall smite the waves in the sea, and all the deeps of the river shall dry up, and the pride of Assyria shall be brought down, and the scepter of Egypt shall depart away. And I will strengthen them in El, and they will walk upon and down in his name, said Yah. Verse 10, chapter 10. Open thy doors, O Lebanon, that the fire may devour thy cedar. And in Isaiah chapter 63, in Isaiah chapter 60 or 63, it's talking about the wood from Lebanon coming to help build up Jerusalem. So again, it's very important to read and study about the prophecy of each nation, because each nation has its own prophecy with the Most High and what He's going to do. Some nations He's going to welcome, and some nations they're in a lot of trouble. Open thy doors, O Lebanon, that the fire may devour thy cedars. How fair tree, for the cedar is fallen, because the mighty are spoiled. How, O ye oak of Bashan, for the forest of the vintage is come down. There is a voice of howling of the shepherds, for their glory is spoiled, a voice of roaring of young lions, for the pride of Jordan is spoiled. Thus said Yah, my El, feed the flock of the slaughter, who possessors slay them and hold themselves not accountable. And they that sell them say, blessed be El, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. And this particular verse is talking about, just like in Psalms 83, as long as Zion was in sin and continuously falling and being punished, those nations were happy to help Zion stay in sin and stay in captivity. And they're saying, as long as Zion is in captivity, I'm blessed. I'm super rich. I get to reap the rewards of continuing to help Zion be in captivity. And this is why the Most High is going to have a problem with certain nations when He returns, because they forward the affliction, like the Scripture says. For I will no more pity the inhabitants of the land, saith Yah. But lo, I will deliver the man every one into his neighbor's hand, and into the hand of his king, and they shall smite the land, and out of their hand I will not deliver them. And I will feed the flock of slaughter, even you, O poor of the flock, and I took unto me 2 steeds, the one called Beauty, and the other called Bands, and I fed the flock. 3 shepherds also I cut off in 1 month, and my soul loathed them, and their soul also abhorred me. Then said I will not feed you that diet, let it die, and that is to be cut off, let it be cut off, and let the rest eat every one the flesh of another. And I took my staff, even Beauty, and cut it asunder, and that I might break my covenant which I had made with all the people. And the covenant was made with the Hebrew Israelites, and it was broken in that day. And so the poor of the flocks that waited upon me knew that it was the word of El. And I said unto them, if ye think good, give me my price, and if not, forbear. So they weighed for me price 30 pieces of silver. And El said unto me, cast it unto the potter a goodly price, that I was prized of them. And I took the 30 pieces of silver, and cast them to the potter in the house of El. Then I cut asunder my other staff, then bands, that I might break the brotherhood between Judah and Israel. And El said unto me, take unto thee yet the instrument of a foolish shepherd. For, lo, I will raise up a shepherd in the land, which shall not visit those that be cut off, neither shall seek the young one, nor heal that is broken, nor feed that strengtheneth still, but he shall eat the flesh of the fat, and tear their claws in pieces. Woe to the idle shepherd that leaveth the flock! The sword shall be upon his arm, and upon his right eye. His arm shall be clean dried up, and his right eye shall be utterly darkened. Chapter 12, verse 1. The burden of the word of El for Israel, said Yah, which stretcheth forth the heavens, and layeth the foundations of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. So, again, we're still going to have people gathering against Zion in the millennial reign, like Gog and Magog. In that day, said Yah, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness, and I will open my eyes upon the house of Judah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. And the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength, and El of hosts, Yah. And that day will I make the governors of Judah like a heart of a fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall devour all people round about, on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. El also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. So when during the millennial reign here, this is not a lesson about the millennial reign, but it's a lot of prophecies right here. But even in the 12 tribes of Israel, Judah will be the first one to be saved. In that day shall El defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as Yah, as the angels of El before them. So that's what I was talking about when in that time also that Zion will be mighty man like the 144. They will be having special powers, the strength of Samson, teleporting, all type of other stuff, because they're gonna be, adorned with supernatural bodies, the glorified bodies, and they're gonna be able to do certain things. And it shall come to pass, because just like David mighty man, they were known, his mighty man, they were able to kill giants, kill Nephilim, and the Nephilim was, as big as a building sometimes, and David's mighty man, they weren't just the average males, and they could kill a Nephilim. Verse 9, and it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem, and I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the spirit of grace and supplication, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced. Now, who did they pierce? They pierced Yahushua HaMashiach. So this is the prophecy of him being pierced. And they shall mourn for him, as one mourneth for his only son, and they shall be bitterness for him, and one that is in bitterness for his firstborn, sadness and stuff like that, like David was when he lost his child with Bathsheba. He was mourning, he was sad. In that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Handrea Rameon in the valley of Megiddon, and the valley of Megiddon, that's like the Armageddon, where they're gonna have the Armageddon. And the land shall mourn, every family apart, the family of the house of David apart, and their wives apart, the families of the house of Nathan apart, and their wives apart, the family of the house of Levi apart, and their wives apart, the family of Shema apart, and their wives apart, and all the families that remain, every family apart, and their wives apart. Chapter 13. And that day shall be a fountain open to the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sin and for uncleanness. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yah of hosts, that I will cut off the names of the idols out of the land, and they shall no more be remembered. And also I will cause the prophets and the unclean spirits to pass out of the land. And it shall come to pass that when any shall yet prophesy, then his father and his mother that begot him shall say unto him, Thou shalt not live, for thou speakest lies in the name of El. And his father and his mother that begot him shall thrust him through when he prophesieth. And it shall come to pass. Well, I guess because in that particular time, since Yah through Yahushua HaMashiach is here, certain things, aren't necessary, and there's still going to be like soothsayers, and there's still going to be people saying, I have a prophecy and all that, when when everything is completed. There's still going to be people who are trying to manipulate people. And it's saying right here, somebody who is so close to you, it doesn't matter, because in that day, if you do that in that day, even your mother and your father will put you to death, because they know you're lying, trying to cast instruments of evil upon them. And it shall come to pass in that day that the prophets shall be ashamed every one of his visions when he hath prophesied, neither shall they wear a rough garment to deceive, but he shall say, I am no prophet, I am a husbandman, for man taught me to keep cattle from my youth. So they will humble, and the ones who get away from this stuff, they're gonna humble down and say, you know what, I'm just a husbandman. I'm just somebody who's doing this particular job. I'm not a prophet. Please don't make that's not what I'm about. And one shall say unto him, what are these wounds in thy hands? Then he shall answer, those which those with which I was wounded in the house of my friends. Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, said Yah of hosts. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. And I will turn mine hand upon the little ones. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, said Yah, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. It goes into the prophecy about the 1/3 and the 2/3, because 2/3 of Zion is prophesied to be killed. And I will bring the third part through the fire. The 1/3, even though they made it through, they still going to be tested. And will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. And just like we read in the first part of Zechariah, when Yah was saying he's going to give the kingdom to Yahushua HaMashiach, he said, if you do this and you keep my laws, statutes, and commandments. So what was he doing to even Yahushua HaMashiach? He was trying even Yahushua HaMashiach. So Yah is just not going to give anybody anything. Even though you made it to a certain part, he want to make sure that you are qualified to receive certain things. And will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, El is my Yah. Behold, chapter 14, verse 1, the last book of Zechariah. Made it 21 verses. Behold, the day of El cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the house raffled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall El go forth and fight against those nations, as when he fought in the day of battle, and his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof towards the east and towards the west, and there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove towards the north, and the half towards the east. So when he comes back, it's gonna be like an earthquake separating the Mount of Olives, and one is going to go to the south side, and one is going to go to the north side. And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azel. Yea, ye shall flee, like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Zechariah, king of Judah. And El my Abba shall come out, all the saints with thee. And it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day, which shall be known to El, not day nor night, but it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light, and it shall be in that day that living water shall go out of from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them towards the hinder sea in summer, and in winter shall it be. So this is the prophecy about when Yahushua HaMashiach comes, when the New Jerusalem comes set down. They're going to have the rivers, and there should not be day or night. It's just going to be the brightness of him. And El shall be king over all the earth. In that day shall there be one Yah, and his name one. And all the land shall be turned as a plain from Gibeah to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem, and it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place, from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananel unto the king's wine presses, and man shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited, and it shall be the and this shall be the plague wherewith El will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And in that particular time, that's why I was saying, certain nations, when Yahusha returns, he's going to be upset at them, and those nations are going to be on Yahusha's back, on his not delightful side, and they're going to be, some of them are just going to be eradicated, because they fought against his beloved, the apple of his eye, Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from El shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbors, and his hand shall raise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in the great abundance. So again, some people believe that the Hebrew Israelites aren't going to fight, or other nations aren't going to fight when Yahushua HaMashiach returns. There's still going to be battles, and these particular battles, the Yahushua HaMashiach will send certain Hebrew Israelites to go take care of that matter, and they're going to have spoils afterwards. And Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. And so shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, and of the ass, and of all the beasts, and shall be in these tents as this plague. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all nations, so after all the wars and stuff, out of all the nations that are left, which came against Jerusalem, and these are the Gentiles that came against Jerusalem. These are the Psalms 83 type of people, which came against Jerusalem, shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the El of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall come, and it shall be that whosoever will not come up, all the families of the earth, unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the El of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up, and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague, wherewith El will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacle. This shall be the plague, punishment of Egypt, and the punishment of all nations that come not to keep the Feast of the Tabernacle. In that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto the El, and the pots in El's house shall be like the bowls before the altar, full. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto El of hosts, and all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them and see it therein, and in that day there shall be no more the Canaanites in the house of El of hosts. And it's also going about, we talked about the Canaanites last week. The Canaanites are not going to be allowed to sacrifice in the house of El. It's certain nations that the Most High has in the nation with, and Canaan is the lowest nation of all nations on the planet Earth. They're not going to be able to come into the house of El to offer sacrifice. That was the reading of Zechariah chapter 1 to 14. I hope some edification came, and some thought-provoking things came out of the book. And I pray y'all word went out in truth and sincerity. And all praise to Yah through Husham Mashiach. Hallelujah.